everyone! Booktubeathon is over and today I'm going to wrap up the week and tell you what I read and also how much I read during the week. I started out on Monday with reading The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, which is the challenge for read a book to movie adaptation. I never watched the movie because it hasn't been released yet, but I did read the book and I enjoyed it. I think that the theme of the book, the theme of aliens invading Earth, is very, very interesting, and I think this is one of my first books that I have read about that theme. It started out strong, but towards the middle and towards the end I kind of got a little bored. I didn't really feel invested in the story, so I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, even though I really loved the beginning and I really loved the concept. Next I picked up A Monster Calls by Peregrine. This was for the challenge to read a book with pictures in it, and I really loved this story. It took me about 2 hours to read, and it was the first time I read a book like this that took so little time to read, and that was amazing, I think. But also the story is really, really good and really, really touching. I ended up giving it 5 stars because I couldn't give it less than that. Some of the pictures in this book are absolutely horrifying. Like, now I can't find a single horrifying picture, but they are. Kind of like this one. I don't know if you can see it, but this is a monster, and it's a very horrifying monster. The next book that I picked up is Then Came You by Jennifer Weiner, and this completes 2 challenges, which is a genre that you have read the least of this year and a book that someone else picked out for you. And I'm cheating a little bit because in my to be read video I picked 2 titles from my to be read jar. This was one of the titles, so I've decided to just put this book under that challenge to read a book someone else picks out for you. This is an adult book, and I started out saying it was chick lit before I had read it. Now that I have read it, I don't know if I would call it chick lit as much as a story about women who grow up and face the challenge of wanting to become a mother and wanting to donate eggs. It's like we follow 4 women and their perspectives in this story, and it's all very interesting. I love these kind of books where 4 people's life intertwine in the end. So it was a great read. I gave it 4 stars. The 4th book I picked up is As the Passengers by A.S. King. This was just a book I wanted to read because I needed to fill my to be read so that there would be 7 books in my pile. I really, really love this book. I love how A.S. King uses Socrates and his philosophy in a modern story because it worked perfectly, I think. I just need I need a little break now. Anyway, I really enjoyed it and I gave it 5 stars, and it's definitely worth a read. If you haven't read anything by A.S. King, you should pick up this book. Next, I picked up White Hot Kiss by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is my book with something red on it. I had heard so many excellent things about this novel, and I genuinely love Jennifer L. Armentrout. What I have read by her so far has been really, really good. But I didn't really like this book. I felt like all these lorries and all these cars driving outside. The first part of the book was quite interesting. I like the concept of a main character who is able to kiss people and draw out their souls. So basically she cannot kiss anyone. And then she meets this guy who is, yeah, I don't know if I should say what he is, but she meets a guy and they get intertwined in a complicated story and some drama, and I just felt like it got more and more uninteresting, and yeah, it felt a little bit forced in some parts and a little bit too romanticized for my taste. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It is my least favorite book by Jennifer L. Armentrout so far, but it was still okay. It is a good story, but I just didn't feel like I loved it. By that time I had 2 more challenges to complete, and that was to start and finish a series and to read 7 books. I had already read 5 books, so I decided to go for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This is the first book. I also read the second book. I read both of the books, and I really, really love these books. It was such an amazing read. I really love the creepiness of especially the first book. This book has so much creepiness to it, and it is just really brilliant the way everything is described, the way the photos in the books are used. This is one of the creepier photos, I think. So I really love this story. It was just magic because, yeah, I don't know. It's a great story combined with some great photos and some mysterious parts, and I really like the main character as well, who is called Jacob, because Jacob is just brilliant and he is kind of kick-ass, but he's also a little bit insecure, and I love how that balanced in the book. I gave the first book 5 stars, and it would have gotten 10 from me if it could, and the second book 4.75 stars out of 5. Because I felt like this book was more creepy than this one. The second book is more about going on an adventure and dealing with some obstacles, and that was very interesting as well. But what I loved about this series is the creepiness, so I definitely prefer the first book. Next, I picked up my 8th book, which is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the graphic novel, just to round up this reading of the series. And this was very interesting. This is my first real graphic novel that I have read in my 20s, and it has some very interesting features to it. For instance, some of the pages are black and white, and some of the pages are colored. And there is a reason to that. It's not just random. The story follows the colors, and I really like that. And I also liked how I got some facial pictures to the characters. For instance, my image of Jacob was a little boy, but in this book he's actually like a grown-up boy. I think in the book he is 16, but in my head he was like 8 or 9. So that was interesting, and yeah, all in all, just a great graphic novel, and I think I gave it 4 stars because it didn't really give me that creepy effect that the first book gave me. The last book that I picked up during the Booktubeathon week is The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. This was a book that I had already read 250 pages of before the Booktubeathon. I then decided to put it down because I didn't want to rush through it during a readathon, so I wanted to wait and read the rest of it after the Booktubeathon. And I had already finished my challenges and my to-be-read pile, so I decided to pick it back up, and I read 156 pages of this book on Sunday. I still have some pages to go, but I'm almost done with it, and this is brilliant. If you don't know it already, this is the sequel to The Cuckoo's Calling, which was published last year and which I absolutely loved. So this is great as well. I'm going to go more in depth with my view on it in my July wrap-up. Now for the total page count of the week after the car has left. I read a total of 2,862 pages during a week. So it's no wonder, it's no surprise that I'm tired right now. I feel a little mentally exhausted, and I need to do other things besides reading during this next week because it has been crazy. I have loved participating in the Booktubeathon, but I'm going to love relaxing a little bit now and just not read as much as I've done during the past week. So this is what I read during a week, and I'm so proud of myself. I think I deserve a clap on the shoulder, like from my cat or something. That is it for my wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all had a great time doing the Booktubeathon and that you read a lot of books as well. Thank you so much for watching. Happy reading everyone, and bye bye.